Everyone to the round 2 of the West Ealing Community Grant Program 2021. This is by A2 Dominion and Clarion Futures. I would not give you too much of information because we have our funders with us, but just to run through the agenda. We'd have a presentation by Marissa, and Caroline would Marissa would answer your questions at the end of the session. Some important key dates, because the last time we did have a few people not send in the applications on time, which is why I've specifically put this down. Do take note of these dates. Some other information that I'd be sending across to you is just quick guides to where the guidance notes is, where your application, how you should register onto the system and get it done, and who and where can you and how can you contact the funders. The feedback form I will share with you post the session. Passing on to Marissa and Caroline.
Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us today. It means a lot because it does give a lot of hope and encouragement to our organizations to hear you talk about the fund and explain it. Thank you.
Excellent.
You want to do a quick introduction?
Yeah. So my name is Marissa Fletcher-Patrick, and I am working for A2 Dominion. Both Caroline and I are partnership and fundraising project managers. And yeah, we work a lot on kind of putting bids in for A2 Dominion and on behalf of other small organisations. Sorry, someone want to mute?
Can you go on mute if you're not asking questions?
Can I request everyone to please put themselves on mute if you're not speaking? Leanne, or just give me a second, let me see if I can get it done here.
So while you're doing that, I'll just I'll just continue to say that currently we're working quite on a few different funds. This one, however, is working with Clarion Futures, and we will obviously go into that a bit more. But both Caroline and I are working on some other opportunities as well. So obviously, if there's any crossovers, there may be opportunities where you could apply for different pots of funding if it works to your organisation. Caroline?
Yeah, and I'll be sending over some information to Nyaka as well on other funds, as Marissa says, so you'll be able to access them via Nyaka. I think we can just go into it. So I'm going to be sharing my screen. Let me know if you can see or not, and I'll chip in as well if needed, but I'm going to leave you in Marissa's capable hands okay, for now. Okay, can you all see the screen? Yep.
Yep, brilliant. Okay, so yeah, this is the West Ealing Communities Grants Programme. Caroline and I kind of manage it, but Clarion Futures actually hold the pot of funds. Do you want to go on to the next screen? So we're offering grants between 1,000 and 5,000. The actual pot of money is about 100k per year. It's going to last for 3 years. So it aims to support about 6 to 8 different small organisations per round. This is round 2, and I believe the next round after this one will be about April times. Don't quote me on that, but it's around about April. And some of the funds that we funded for the first round were things like homework clubs, food banks. There was a drama club for young people and some mental health provisions for women, and countless different others that applications came in. It was really exciting, and you know we're really encouraging everyone to try and apply and try and benefit from this. I do have to state that it is, when it says West Ealing, it is definitely West Ealing. However, you can be an organisation based anywhere as long as you can factor in that you're working with residents in the community in West Ealing. So the funding focuses on young people, older people, and families and communities. So as long as your project or kind of demonstrates how it involves those people and what you're doing for them, that's great. Applicants are expected to demonstrate the understanding of the local community. So it's do your research, have a look of what there are, what gaps you can provide in the provisions that are already there. If you're a small organisation and you've been going for a little while, you know, what do you do? How can you work with the local and the wider community? And kind of, when I say gaps in the provision, it's just more, you know, if it is another, let's just say it was another homework club, you know, how many homework clubs are running, how are you going to do yours slightly differently? So there might be one based in West Ealing already, but they might be looking at primary school age. You might be able to look at secondary school age. So it's just seeing, because obviously we want the best outcome for everyone who applies. We want everyone to be successful. So it's just find what your niche is, find what it is that you're doing and use that to your advantage. And again, one of the things that we're expecting everyone to do is, after the project is finished, it's very important that we kind of get a report from you guys and get the feedback and monitor how it happens. So it will be dependent on the length of the project. Obviously, if it's over a period of 12 months, that we, you know, might ask you something a couple of months in just to ask you how it's going. If it's a project that's only going to last 4 or 5 or a term, then again, we'll ask you at the end of the project how it's going. It might just be, it's just a one-off event. It might be something that we can attend. It might be something that we can help support, promote, and yeah, it will all help towards the monitoring and the reporting that Clarion and A2 Dominion will ask you to do. So that is a very important factor about the application and what you need to do. Thank you. So the first most important thing that I can ask you to do is to register on the Clarion Futures website. And there will be something that's sent out to you which will explain how to register. It is important that you register, because once you actually register, then Clarion Futures will hold your details and then just kind of give you a little nudge of where the deadline's coming up, just in case that you're working on it. Caroline has kindly put the actual application form into a Word document, so we can obviously share that as well with you. The Word document is something that you could just do your draft on and then copy and paste over to the Clarion Futures website. But even if you do that, I have to stress to you how important it is to register so that you don't miss the deadline. And it is very strict application and deadline. So applicants the window opened on Monday the 11th and it will close noon on the dot on Thursday the 11th of November. There will be no exceptions. So if you get in at 12:05, I doubt that they will take any exceptions on that, unless there's some extreme circumstances. But if you could try and do it before, and that's why we will encourage you to register beforehand, so at least then that they've got the basics of your details, and then you can just input your information. I must say that you have to look at the checklist before you submit your application, and the checklist will be making sure that you've got your governing documents, your most recent annual accounts, safeguarding policies, public liability insurance if you're working with younger people, especially under the age of 25, your address, for trustees, and if I believe they ask for a COVID delivery risk assessment. I don't know how strict we are on all those documents if you're a small or new organisation, but if you haven't got some of those documents, it's very important to just explain why. But I expect most companies will have, i.e. safeguarding, depending on what your status is as a charity or a small organisation. Everyone should have public liability insurance and so forth. So it's just important that you kind of do that checklist, and if you don't have the correct documents, you know, please email myself and Caroline, and we can forward that on to Clarion and see if there's any wiggle room, or to see if you can get them, because we've got, you know, just under a month. It might be something that you may have to get if you don't have public liability insurance. It might be that you'll get it just before your event starts, or that you are in the process of doing it.
So we can provide a template in order to draw up your own one that you can design to match your organisation.
Yes, thank you. So again, we are here to support, we are here to help. Clarion Futures, you can also email them, the grants team. They will be happy to guide you through the actual submitting and criteria and the guidance notes. And again, we, A2 Dominion, Caroline and I, will be happy to help you more of a one-to-one basis. We can listen to what your project ideas are, if it's a new project, and just to see if it meets all the criterias. See if it meets all the criteria. Yes, so eligibility. It is only open for non-profit organisations, registered charities, companies limited by guarantee, you know, PTAs and friends of school groups, community interest companies, and if you're working on behalf of local residents in the West Ealing area, which I kind of think is quite straightforward. Our location, again, the location is definitely West Ealing. As I said before, you could be, we had a company before, I believe, Caroline, am I correct? Were they based in Manchester? Yeah. But they were doing some work in West Ealing, so they was able to apply, which was great, because regardless, and I think technology is amazing nowadays, and it was all about digital, their program. So
as long as you can demonstrate a knowledge of the area, or that you've done your research and that you are actually benefiting people in that community, then it doesn't matter if you're on the moon, really, as you can do. Exactly,
thank you. So as I said before, just please, the management committees is 3 unrelated members, all kind of charities and small organisations and community interest companies will require that when you sign up, so everyone should be able to have that. And again, governing documents, we need to make sure annual income of your business needs to be less than 500k in the last year, and again, it just demonstrates a small organisation. And we do need to have 2 unrelated statutories on your bank account. However, if you only have one and you're a really small organisation and it's just you running, there we may be able to have some wiggle room, or you can, and we had someone do this last round. There was only one person on their bank account, and they managed just before they put in the application to add another person, which didn't cost them any extra money to do so. It was just so that they had all the right information. So, you know, everything's always doable. And yes, new groups need bank statements and all forecasts, which again is quite self-explanatory, really. And our safeguarding policies and insurance.
Self-explanatory.
Yeah. Okay, so I think this is what everyone's really keen about, kind of understanding and knowing the key focus. So again, as I said, key focus is young people, so that's under the age of 25, older people, families and communities. There's not to say that you need to just mark it at one. It might be to benefit everyone, which then will fall under the community. It's engaging in positive activities and developing resilience and confidence and leadership skills. This is great for things like training workshops or education. It could be, as I said, there was food banks, so it's just again helping communities. Reducing social isolation, improving mental and physical well-being, digital and financial literacy, reducing the impacts of poverty, safer neighbourhoods, and improving perceptions of young people. I think it's really important to say that you have to be able to demonstrate or something at least on this list. And again, as Caroline said, it include your knowledge of the area. I'm not trying to say that you need to put stats on, you know, if you're working with young people under the 25, you need to put all the stats from whatever area that you're working in, but have an understanding of what the needs are in the community. If you know that there is a particular, the gaps in the provision, if you know that, you know, there is a high percentage of crime in West Ealing, then, you know, it's something, going on Google and having a look at some police records to the amount of crime that has been done in the area would obviously enhance your application, because it just shows that you've looked at what's going on in that area. And again, partnership and networking, you know, if you can say that you are working with or have worked with, it would be really good. And demonstrate, yes, please demonstrate a clear plan for engaging the local community. How are you going to engage the community? How are they going to take part? When you plan to do your activity, what is it that, you know, the community are going to benefit from, and really demonstrate that clear understanding of how you're engaging them. It might be that you have spoken to the local school and said, this is what we want to offer, and the local school turn around and say, that will be absolutely fantastic, we will support you in that. Again, it's just having that partnership, networking, and engaging the community. I think I just want to state that when Caroline sends through the Word document, in that it will tell you everything when you register, everything that's on the website, and things are like a project summary. So it would just be a short summary of what you plan to do, your main focus, again, the location, the need for your project, the task and the activities they involve. It's not an onerous application. I think some are about 100 words maximum, some are about 250 words. So it's, you know, once you start rolling about your project, you'll be able to fill that and more probably. But it's just really important that you kind of demonstrate. So when it says something like the need for your project, please demonstrate what the need is. When it says what your primary focus is, please, you know, include, if it is going to reduce social isolation, working with older people, please put how that's going to do, and be really quite descriptive. If you're going to run some workshops, please put how those workshops are really going to help that group of people that you're working with, not just the words on the paper, not just, you know, this is the outcomes. It will just explain how that they're going to benefit, and maybe what that benefits to the community, if that makes sense to everyone.
Also, here's the link. When we were talking about doing your research, this is quite a useful portal which gives demographic information, so it's really worth looking at that, as Marisa mentioned earlier.
Yeah, that's it. Any questions? I hope that I've kind of explained as much as possible.
I'll try and stop sharing my screen now.
Sorry, a quick question. I know you said there's sort of another round of funding next year, I think. So in terms of when the project takes place, would it be for as soon as possible kind of thing, or could we put in an application for something for next year kind of thing?
I would say so this round obviously closes on the 11th of November. Aim to have feedback, or, you know, being successful by mid-December, and we would like to see projects kind of up and running by about January. If it's that you want your project to start in April or May next year, then there's an opportunity for you to apply for that funding then, because you won't get through this round, because we know that there is another round of funding. They would hold you back until April and say if you could resubmit in April. So it depends. If it falls in February, then that's absolutely fine if your project's going to start then, to apply this time. But if it falls in like April, May, then apply for round 3.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
thanks.
It's quite a delicate balance as well, because you need to bear in mind it will take time to release the funds as well.
Right.
So don't apply for something that you want to do immediately, because you're just not going to get the funds in time either. So
Sure.
got to be at least 6 weeks from the closing date, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really useful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No worries.
Hello. Sorry, I was late. I need to drop my kids off at the crash, and it's all problematic now with coronavirus. Could we receive the recording of this Zoom? Just because I was late and wanted to find
Yeah,
out.
I have recorded the session. We'll hope to load the session online by the end of today after editing any kind of, unwanted data on it. But I will send out the information to you with the links and the presentation, the video, and the document that Caroline will send me today by email.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions?
I
Monique,
want to-
you have
Hi.
your hand up.
Hi,
Hi.
sorry, I was having some technical difficulty joining. So my question was, what are the income thresholds in order to apply for the fund?
So, yeah, you need to have taken less than.
Caroline, you're on mute. Or actually not on mute, but we can't hear you.
I could hear her.
I can hear her.
Okay, so
Back.
as long as your income was below £500,000 last year, then you are eligible.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you.
Das?
Yeah, thank you for calling me Das. First of all, I want to know, when we say West Ealing, Southall comes under that, I hope so. Southall.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. We have to.
Ah.
Yeah. So you can be based in Southall, but as long as the project or the event will benefit those.
No, what happened? We are
Ealing.
based in Southall. It benefits people from Perivale to Greenford to everywhere. That's the kind of center we have. We are basically involved with the South Asian community of Sri Lankan community, who nobody bothers. Last 10, 12 years almost, we are working for that. So I don't know whether we should apply, otherwise I don't know to.
Do you have any beneficiaries in West Ealing?
West Ealing comes under which other places? I don't know. Myself, I'm sorry.
West Ealing is
Greenford?
Greenford is a separate place. West Ealing is a name. I mean, it's a specific
It's a Ealing
place. So
specifically, yeah. And Southall doesn't come under this project though.
Ealing is a bigger borough. Southall, West Ealing, Greenford are all part of Ealing.
Yeah, you should be in the
So-
Ealing borough then.
Yeah, but this particular fund is to target the West Ealing area is
Oh.
quite deprived. So there is a fund which is specific to West Ealing. As long as your project extends out of West Ealing, it's okay as long as there are beneficiaries in West Ealing.
Absolutely.
There are few beneficiaries coming every day for benefits and all this advice support. But
Yes.
I can't show that as a project, isn't it? It's my problem. I have people coming from all over the world because this is the only center for Tamil community.
If you could demonstrate how many people on average who come from West Ealing.
West Ealing is a big place actually.
Yeah.
If you look it up and if you have your beneficiaries coming in from West Ealing, you can apply. But
Absolutely.
you need to look it up and you would actually get the bifurcation of the area. You may not get the exact outline, but it is a huge area in Ealing.
Okay. I will, of course, definitely. We
Okay.
need this support and we have people around. And the second thing I need is about safeguarding policy. Before we used to have insurance, public liability, all that. And I told you, the last 2 years we almost closed down. And we want to relaunch after 12 years. We have been doing, if you see the website, you can see. We need a bit support to relaunch, that's it. Of course, we have people coming from Wellington to Perivale, from everywhere. Because this is the only center for Tamil community, who are more than almost 500,000 around. So I will explore, I will research and see how I can try. If I need support, I'll ask you, okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there are policies online that you can have a look at
Yeah.
around safeguarding, but I think if you're working with vulnerable people and young people, it's really important that you.
No, we are focused on basically relaunching, restarting for the communities. Families in isolation, families in economic severe, depravity. So we need to bring them back to the jobs, help them with getting jobs, all sort of things. Since we are coming out of the pandemic. So it's more, once families are okay, children will be okay. That's our policy.
Can I just step in here? If anyone has an issue with their recording coming on screen, I request you to put your camera off. Unless you're speaking, you wouldn't be visible, but request you to get the camera turned off. Thank
Why
you.
not? I'll be happy to do that.
Oh, no. That's I just had a query for that on the chat, so I thought I'd just put that in.
For me, no problem.
Sorry, any further questions, or did I interrupt? Okay. A couple of things, Mr. Das here. You mentioned you need support with safeguarding and other policies. The Ealing and Hounslow CVS, we're here to support you. We provide safeguarding training to your organization. You need to get in touch with me and just let me know when and how you need that done. So we have a safeguarding officer. We provide support on policies. Caroline mentioned the data website, the portal Ealing Data. It's very, very useful in collecting your information on how you can plan your project. If there's any help you need on that, we've done a training on that and we've recorded that. I will send the resource link to you where the creators of the portals have come and given an easy demonstration of how to go about using the portal. In terms of the Word document that Caroline will be sending, if you send me your draft application, I'd be happy to give you advice or any kind of a look through to it before you put it on to the on the portal where you've registered. But do register on time. And yeah, like I mentioned, we're here with support on policies, templates, anything that you need. Coffee, you have your hand up.
Yeah. So my question, just to add to, just to confirm what the last guy was asking. For instance, if you advertise a project for and also your targeted audience.
Not very clear. Sorry.
You know, then
No, you're breaking up in bits. Is everybody able to hear Coffee or just me?
No, I can't hear him.
oh, don't know why.
That's a bit better.
Better now.
Oh, okay. So basically, yeah, if I advertise my project for Ealing in general, yeah, which means it includes targeted ad for the West Ealing residents. Is that okay, or
So
I
it
still-
sounds really bad there, but I think what you're saying is if you're advertising it for the whole of Ealing, but it would include West Ealing residents, is that okay?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? Yeah. It can certainly include the wider borough, that's fine, but you need to be able to demonstrate that, a sufficient proportion of them were West Ealing residents. And so we would suggest that when you do whatever it is, if it's an event or whatever, that you collect those stats so that you have some sort of register or something to back to us how many of those were from West Ealing.
From West Ealing, okay.
But we're not saying you need to exclude the rest of it. That's not our intention.
Okay. And how about insurance here? Say you hire premises to do your project, which is the premises insurance coverage. Do you need to have your own insurance?
Yeah, no, well, you won't need insurance for the actual building, but if you have public liability insurance, it will just cover if you have any residents and they had an accident and they, anything can happen. So it's just to cover you, basically, and you can pick up public liability insurance for anything from £10 to £80 a month, or you can get it annually, but it just protects you. So it's not necessarily the building, it protects you as a company, just to make sure that, you know, if anything happens, you're kind of protected in that if someone wanted to, you know, if someone fell and broke their arm while they were at your workshop, then, you know, it's just to make sure, it's to protect you more than anything.
And we'd
And you
probably
don't think the premises insurance will cover that too?
The premises will have their own insurance, but it wouldn't cover you for if any so it's your liability. So if you're running a workshop for 15 minutes, in those 15 minutes, the responsibility of those people are your responsibility. It doesn't matter what building that they're in. Even the building will have insurance which covers the building if there's a fire, there's a leak or something like that. But the public liability insurance, it covers you directly if anything happens to anyone.
I would also say that it's worthwhile your own risk assessment, you know, for any event. So things that you know, like Marisa said, somebody might break their arm because they fall over a lead that you've got plugged in or whatever, you know. It's always worth doing your own risk assessment to consider any possible incidents that might occur, you know. And again, a risk assessment is a document that, you know, you can pick up a template anywhere. We could even provide you with one. You know, it's just good practice, really.
Can we have a quick question from Monique, please? I think we have the next session joining soon. Monique?
Sorry, I forgot to remove my arm.
Oh, okay, great. So I hope most of your questions were answered. If there are any further questions, there was one particular question which was on the chat, which says they couldn't find the exact area for West Ealing, which we had last time. So would postcodes be okay to follow, Caroline?
Yeah, I know there are places where you can find the outline, and I was actually going to suggest that we put that on our next presentation next time.
Yeah, if there is any information along with which you could send me along with the Word document, I could circulate that along with the session notes. Quick time for Julia to put on her last question. Before that, I've put in a small link for feedback to this session, and really like if you could give us those or before you leave. Julia, you mentioned risk assessment if you're delivering via Zoom.
Yeah.
Do we need a risk assessment?
Yeah, basically what I'm saying is that if I'm going to do anything, do you have to deliver on site, or can you do delivery of the teaching and training or via Zoom? And if you are, then I'm not sure if a risk assessment is actually going to be needed then, just to be quiet. That's it.
It's a good point. Yeah. No, you don't have to deliver face-to-face. You can deliver online. I don't know. I probably you're less likely to need a risk assessment then. We did have one occasion where, because we fundraised for a job club that happens on a Saturday, and that's online. And there was an issue around a gentleman wanting to join, but he looked after, he had parenting duties for his young child at the same time, and he was asking whether he needed to keep his camera on for the duration of the course, because of, you know, obviously it was a young person, you know, could have been at risk of being, you know, seen by other members in the workshop. So I mean, that's a really, you know, it's unlikely to be an issue, but, you know, maybe you need to think about stuff like that, about, you know, confidentiality.
Yeah, I would always recommend a risk assessment. Doesn't matter how basic it possibly is, just because then regardless whether it's on Zoom, I don't think that we would probably, yeah, it's just to kind of make sure that you've thought about everything. You've thought about the risk assessment, having a risk assessment. So it's just kind of just for your own kind of peace of mind. And it doesn't have to be onerous, because obviously if you was doing it face to face, you would have things like a lead from your laptop being plugged in. But it would, just like what Caroline said, it's maybe just people, if they feel safer with their cameras off because they've got young people in the house with them.
Yeah. I think it's worth having a risk assessment, for everything, including the insurance that we were talking about earlier, just to make sure that you've taken care of all areas. It doesn't really have to, it's not something that you may use, but it's just well thought of.
Absolutely.
So if there's no more questions, I'd like to thank you all for giving us your time this morning, especially Caroline and Marissa and everybody else who made it today. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll send the session notes by the end of today. Look forward to your draft applications. If you need any support, or just send me a line, and we can try and set up a one-to-one session with you and see how we could support you further.
Thank you, Nyaka.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Take care.
Bye.
Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Don't forget to click the survey link, and it's in the chat. I'll put it down again, and leave us your feedback. That was really valuable. Thank you. Thank you, Caroline, and thank you, Marissa. Caroline, I look forward to the Word document, and if you could send me any postcards or any information about the area West Ealing
Yep, we'll do that.
that we could use.
No problem. See ya.
See you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.